Hey everyone, this is John Schwalbish from PolicyViz.com coming to you with another Excel tutorial, this one of a forecast chart. This is really what I have in mind. If you watch some of my data visualization critiques, you'll see that this is the first video, critiquing my own work. What am I showing here? It's the relationship between, say, budget forecasting versus what the actual spending was. So if I look back, were my projections correct? And so I could show this as a line chart or as a bar chart. This is trying to show it as a connected scatter plot. And so what do I have? I've got at the top triangle projected is greater than the actual, and the bottom triangle projected is less than the actual. I've got the years plotted here. Notice that they differ in their length, right? Because this is not a line chart or a bar chart. So it's going to be the actual difference in the change that's going to matter. And then I've got a line up here that's showing the projected equals the actual. All right, let's make this thing. I'm going to flip over here. Now, really, all this is going to be a series of scatter plots. So I'm going to start by getting that first line on there, the actual versus projected line. I'm going to put this in right here as a scatter with smooth lines and markers. There's the line. Now, I'm going to set the axis labels here. I'm going to set them to be between 350 and 550. That's going to work for the horizontal and for the vertical axis. I want to try to square this up a little bit, and I'm going to give this a unit of 50 to make it the same on both ends. So now I've got this 350 origin down here, 550 at the top. Now let's add the diagonal line that's going to cut through this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add new data. I'm going to add what I call the area chart here. It's going to look like an area chart, but it's really not an area chart. I'm going to select all of these data, and because I'm putting it on the diagonal, I can just copy and paste and put the same data, and now you can see I have a diagonal line. Now, how do we fill in this area below? Well, I'm going to use error bars to do this. So I'm going to add error bars to this chart. As you can see, Excel by default for scatter plots can add horizontal and vertical error bars. Here I only need vertical error bars. So I'm going to select my vertical error bars and I'll format. I'm going to minus, no cap, and I'm going to change the percentage here to 100%. And now they drop all the way down. I can delete my horizontal error bars. And with the vertical error bars, now I can just change the width of those error bars. And as you see, as I keep clicking, now they're solid. Now let me show you what happens if I make this like 10 points. And we're going to zoom all the way in. And what I'm going to do first is get rid of the markers on that yellow line, that diagonal line. I don't need those. And you see what happens when I do that? You can see the vertical error bars behind that yellow line. So I don't want that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring this all the way back down. I think at 2 points it's going to work. So there's still that right angle because those error bars are they're basically, when you thicken the line, they're just basically look like a column or a bar. So when I thin them out a little bit, that right edge hides behind that yellow line, which I'm going to select actually and change to blue. I think a blue will look better here. There we go. Maybe even a little bit darker. Make it a dark blue, and I'll change the error bar lines to be a light gray. And so now I've got my two regions, and I can delete all my grid lines. So I can delete this grid line and this set of grid lines. And now we have two more pieces to this. We're going to add We're going to add the lines to connect it to the blue line, so you can see the diagonal. So I'm going to go to chart design again. I'm going to add more error bars here. And in this case, again, I don't need the horizontal ones, so I'll just delete those. For the vertical error bars, I'm going to do something a little different. Here, I'm going to say, again, no cap. I'm going to say minus. And here, I'm going to specify a value. And I've already set this up right over here. In my negative error bar value here, I'm going to select these errors, which is just the difference between the projected and the actual. When I click OK, you can see that they connect. And now I'm all set. Last thing to do here, add the data labels to these points. Now by default, if you've seen other videos on this channel, you know that the data labels by default are going to add the Y value. So I want to add the years here. I could add that Y value. There's nothing wrong with adding the actual or projected dollar values, but I'm going to add the year. I'm going to turn off the Y value, the leader lines, and I'll put these below or above. Doesn't really matter. Depends on which ones you think looks best. And I'm going to slide this 2016 over a little bit. Maybe I want to have, I want to do something different with this 2012. I can just move these. And by turning off those leader lines, I can do this without having to worry about, you know, the line sort of following these boxes. So I can move some of these around if I need to. It's not going to be perfect. So you can see I've got that first part. Now the other pieces to this, if I want to add the labels, I did it with text boxes. I don't always do it that way, but in this particular case, it seemed like enough to warrant just putting in text boxes. What about the bottom chart showing the difference? Well, again, I'm going to use scatter plots here. Why am I going to use scatter plots and not a bar chart? Because I want to line up these red dots with the difference. So I'm going to select these two series, and I'm going to insert a scatter plot. And let's make these this axis the same as our original chart. So 350 to 550. You can see how it's shaping up. I'm going to add another. So you can see already, if I line these charts up, just set them up like that, you can see how these points are lined up already. So now I'm going to have to add one more series here. I want to have the data themselves. So I need the X values to be here. One more. And the difference, just equal to my error bars from earlier. I'm going to put that here, and that's going to give me the length. And so you can see it resembles that shape. I'll flip back over so you can see it resembles this shape here, but they're going to be lined up. Again, I am going to use the error bar option. I'm going to actually put it on the yellow series. In this case, now it's yellow. I'll do error bars. Now I can use the same approach as before with just making these error bars minus, again, I'd like to turn the cap off and make that percentage 100%. And there I have them all set up. And now I can, just like before, I can make these a lot bigger. Instead of just clicking, I'm going to type in 18. 18 is a little too big. Let's bring it down to something that fits. There we go. See a little difference there. And now I can just turn all these markers off. So let's turn this marker off. Nope. Let's add data labels here first. And we can leave it as there, leave them as is. Now the one challenge here is if I move these data labels below, you know, a few of these I want to be on top. And I could of course change how I do this, but you know, in this case, for this particular chart, I'm just going to move these. I'm just going to move these up. I mean, it's fine. I mean, you could add two different error bar series so that you wouldn't have to do that, but I think for here it's okay. So I'm going to delete that little grid line there. I'm going to move this up here, and I'm going to hide those markers. Don't need them. Get that label right, that last label right there. Move that up. Grab that. Change the color again. Here I'll use a lighter blue color. That's nice. Okay, so now let's zoom out. Delete the chart title. Move this down below, and I want these to be directly lined up. So you can see that they are lined up real nicely. If you want to just double check it, you can always select both, go to shape format and go over to align, and you can align them together like that. And now here, this isn't going to be as big as a big a chart, the bottom one, the difference. So I'm just going to grab this guy and move him down like that. And I'll probably delete these grid lines and these grid lines. I might leave that 0 grid line on there. I definitely want to have some sort of note for the 0 grid line. So I definitely want to have that. I can play around with this and make that a little bit, make that 0 axis grid line a little bit darker. But as you can see, now it's really just a matter of styling. And so I'm going to go back over here. You can see here I have the 0 axis styled here, but not anywhere else. So that's how you create this forecast chart. It is really just a series of scatter plots with error bars. So again, the top one is a scatter plot connected smoothed, where you have an X and a Y projected in actual. You have the diagonal line, which the X's and the Y's are the same. And you have error bars that drop all the way down, and you just increase the thickness. And then for this little difference chart here, where I want these lined up. That's the key. I want the bars and the dots lined up. I'm going to use 2 more scatter plot series. One scatter plot is going to be for setting up the dimensions along this x-axis, and then the other one I'm going to put on the y-axis. I'm going to have the difference here. So again, just a series of scatter plots. I hope this was helpful. I hope you will check out some of the other videos on this YouTube channel so you can learn more about how to create more effective visualizations in Excel.